Hey Dynamics 365ers, it's Benitez here, and today I'm going to be going through the Dynamics 365 app designer and showcasing the version 9 features. So I presented these features quite recently at the last Melbourne Dynamics user group of the year, and the following is what I shared. So I'm going to be going through the new features that have been made available since the version 9 release. So you can now design an app for the web or using the unified interface, so that if you're browsing on your tablet and device, you can use an app. You can apply a custom welcome page, which is great, and you can also choose which solution or sitemap you want the app to be associated with. And then in terms of the sitemap features that are available, you can search the canvas, you can do inline edit, you can copy, paste, and clone, and then my personal favorite is the WYSIWYG View Designer. So before we start, in terms of the custom welcome page, you won't see this lovely face at the beginning. You can actually change it to whatever you want, as well as the View Designer. So this is a feature that not many people have been made aware yet. When I showcased it at the Melbourne user group, everyone seemed quite positive about it, but I'll go through some of that with you in a minute. So let's get started. Okay, so the first thing, well, that's not good. Here we go. First thing that I'm going to do with you guys is I'm going to go to apps, and we're going to go ahead and create a brand new app. So in here, I'll create a brand new one, and we're going to call it ticket management. So this is something that the team in the service desk area would use. So what I'm doing right now is I'm in the app designer window, and we're just going to give it we're going to give it a description. And as you can see in here, there's now two options that you can choose from. There's the web, or there's a unified interface, which is pretty cool. So I'm going to choose a different icon. So that's my little ticket management icon that we'll use. And then down here, you can see that A, use existing solution to create the app. So in other words, let's go ahead and associate to a solution that exists in this environment. The other one is, this is where we choose a welcome page for the app. And in here, this is where you need to search for a web resource. So you would need to upload a HTML file as a web resource, so that in the app designer you can select it. So here's one that I uploaded earlier. And now that we've got this all set, we can move on to the next step. And the next step is where you can select a solution. So I'm saying that I want to add it to the demo solution that exists in this environment, and it's recognizing that no sitemaps are available within this solution. So this is the first one that I'm designing. So now when I click done, it will now go ahead and load the components that we can work with the sitemap. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to create a new sitemap, and this is where I'll be able to go through the sitemap images with you guys. So at the moment I'm just selecting an icon and just calling it, giving it a title. And you see how there's these pencils in here? This is where you can now do the inline edit. So now I can name this as customer, and then over here I can select account. And as you can see, as I type, it's also updating the title in here, which is quite nice. So now I'm just going to select my entity and hit save. So I think I'll go ahead and add another group. So I'll call this, well, it's not something we want to see. Let's just ignore that. Okay, so this one I'll call tickets, and then I can add another sub area, and here I'll add cases. Cool, so we're using the default image. Okay, so in terms of the copy and paste functionality, so this will allow you to copy components within the sitemap. So up here, if I select copy, it will go ahead and paste the entity in here that I've copied. And then in terms of the clone, if I hit clone, it will go ahead and clone what I've selected. The thing that I am confused about at this point in time is I'm not really sure what the difference is between a copy and clone, because from the surface they look exactly the same, but you never know, there could be something underneath it that might be different. Okay, so now that I've showed you the sitemap features of you can do an inline edit, you can copy, and you can clone, the other one that I wanted to show you, which is back in the app designer, is you can now search the canvas. So the idea is when you have a lot of entities in your sitemap and you need to quickly get to one of those entities, you can basically search for them. So as you can see, if I select contact, it will now highlight it. It will immediately take me to where it is in the app designer so that I can start editing it. Okay, so the last thing that I wanted to show you was the WYSIWYG editor, which in my opinion is very cool. So the WYSIWYG editor, how it's different is that it allows you to create and see your view in real time. So traditionally, you would have to create a system view against the entity in a solution. But with the WYSIWYG editor, as you add your columns and as you're adjusting the columns, you can see your information in real time. And for me, I think that's very useful because there are often scenarios where when you're playing with the width of the columns in the traditional way of building system views, it's usually trial and error. You have to go back and forth until you get the right width, length. And so let's go ahead and check it out. So I'm in the app designer, you select view, then you click on create new. Okay, so it's saying that I have unsaved changes. So let me save this. Oops, rookie. Okay, now I click create new. And what it's doing right now is it's now loading a view with the primary field. So this is the account name. And as you can see, I can click to add a view name. So I can call this accounts with primary contact. I'll just leave it as that. And if I now click on the primary entity, which is now going to display all the fields in the account entity, I can now simply just drag and drop. And as you select it, you can then expand the width. So as you can see, it's getting smaller. So like I said, traditionally, if you were using the system designer and you weren't really sure about the width in the first place, you'd have to go back and adjust the width accordingly. And you can still add fields from a related entity. So if I now click on this drop down field over on the right hand side, it will now give me all the entities that are related to the account, and I can select the primary contact and we'll wait for it to load. So this will now load all the fields that are within the primary contact itself. So if I go ahead and select a couple of fields, so I'm going to drag and drop the email, and then I'm going to go ahead and use the business phone, and for some reason it's not loading the data when it should. Anyways, so then the data should be loading in here in terms of the contact related information. Why it's not loading, I'm not entirely sure, because I know that these accounts do in fact have primary contact, so maybe it's a bug. So now when I click on add filter, I can also now do the filters. And so if I filter by city, so let's say I select Vienna, as you can see it's now filtered it, and then now if I type in something like Paris, it will now show me the account with the city of Paris. And you can also add multiple filters, and as you can see there's also the option that you're familiar with where you can group by using an and or an or statement. And yeah, so when I click save and close, this will now create the view, which we will see on the right hand side. So accounts with primary contacts, so that was the one that I created. The limitation that I did find with this is that I can't actually go back and edit that view in that WYSIWYG Designer. I would have to go outside of the app designer into the solution itself to update the view, and my assumption is that maybe it's coming in a future release where you can edit the view within the app designer rather than the traditional way of going into the solution. And yeah, that's it for today. So just to recap, I was just showing you the version 9 features of the app designer. So we had a look at how you can create a new app and specify whether it's a web or a unified interface, what solution and if any a sitemap within the solution do you want this app design to be associated to, as well as adding a new custom welcome page, and the sitemap features such as inline edit and copy and clone, as well as the WYSIWYG editor. So I'm going to hit save and I'm going to publish, and when we close out of this, so now when I hit refresh, we should now see the ticket management app in here. And if I go back to the actual solution itself, I'm going to refresh this, and we'll go ahead and select our app from the menu. Okay, so this is the one that we created. So when I click on this, what's going to happen is that app is now going to load. We're going to see the custom welcome page, which I've just created. So this is the new page that will load when the user navigates to the app. And then if we now go to accounts, which we already are in, you'll see that accounts with primary contact. Oh, that's strange. So it's now loading in the actual view itself, but it wasn't loading the app designer. That's interesting. So this is the view that we created, and then as you can see, this was the one that I copied, and that's the one I cloned. And yeah, that's all for today. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on Twitter. I'll see you next time. Bye.